Everyone. This is Heather Chesky, and I am coming to you live with a really good friend of mine. Her name's Jeanette, and we are going to have some great things to share with you today. I'm going to wait for a couple of you to pop on, so you guys can catch this live and make sure everything is working. But if you're out there and you're watching, go ahead and let me know. Say hey in the chat box. Give me a couple hearts and likes, and we can go ahead and dive right in on our topics today. But before we do, I would love to give you a little bit of an intro of who I am and what I do. And I'm going to let Jeanette do the same thing. But basically, my name is Heather Chesky. I am a photographer in the Northern Virginia area. And I have built my business while I am a stay-at-home mom with two super young kids, and this business supports my family. And more recently, I've shifted into coaching other photographers who are overwhelmed or overworked and just don't know what to do with their business. And I help them figure out how to make income and how to have an impact in their area with their business. And I absolutely love that. Jeanette is someone I met about 2.5 years ago. Her husband, Steve, contacted me about doing a photo shoot for her. Jeanette has an amazing weight loss story. So I'm actually going to let you share that, Jeanette, and anything else that you want to share to our viewers.
Sure. So right as you were talking, someone tried to call me because I didn't put my phone on airplane mode.
There you go. That's right. It happens. I should go ahead and do that real quick.
I live in Maryland. So obviously, like with any story, it's like super long. So I'm going to give you the like abbreviated, truncated version. I was one of those people that like all my life, I was one of those girls who like, I couldn't just eat whatever I wanted and stay thin. Like I always like tried to do that. And over time, I definitely gained a lot of weight. Like the heaviest I remember seeing myself was 273 pounds, and I'm 5'7". So like, I mean, it's not like I'm 6'2" or something like that. But I weighed 273 pounds. And over time, I started to realize that the reason that I had tried so many things to lose weight and it wasn't working was because I never had my mind in the right place. I thought I was motivated, but I wasn't really motivated until I had it kind of planned out. Like, here are the tools that you need to do. Don't overthink it. Just do it. And then over time, I started out with the gym and just started with small things and tracking how I ate, things like that. And then started to be able to learn more and make more adjustments. And, definitely went through ups and downs with it. Over the course of time, I lost 90 pounds, but there was definitely learning through it where like at one point I realized that I was severely under eating and addicted to working out and like hitting a certain calorie loss. And so it's taken me quite a while to get to the spot of like a healthy balance of feeling healthy, feeling like I'm able to still eat ice cream sometimes without guilt, still eat a hamburger sometimes without guilt, but not do that every day, not do that every week and things like that. So that's definitely been like the biggest part of that is like what we're going to talk about today is the mindset and realizing over time that it's okay when your mindset's not in the right place because that allows you to take it to the right place. So
right. Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for that intro. So just to elaborate a little bit more. So now Jeanette also helps other people in their weight loss and nutritional journey. And this video is not necessarily about losing weight in particular, but it's more about mindset for success. So a lot of my viewers are trying to grow their business. And as you know, Jeanette might have viewers who are trying to do the same thing, or even if you're not doing that, maybe you're trying to get ahead in the workplace, or you just want to have better relationships or a healthier relationship with food. Whatever the case it may be, your mindset plays a huge, massive role in whether or not you have success and how quickly you have it. I know within my little photography world and with the photographers that I communicate with and that I coach and that I help, we don't necessarily say that we have a mindset issue. Like that terminology, I don't feel is used a lot in the photography industry. However, I hear from so many photographers how much they don't value themselves, or they struggle with valuing themselves, or struggling with their worth as a photographer. They're struggling with, knowing how to price themselves, and they feel like they're just not worth it or they're not good enough. And those kind of phrases is a mindset problem. So if you can relate to that, whether you're a photographer or not, this episode is going to be for you. We're actually going to go ahead and share 3 tips to that will help set up your mind set for success, and whether it's in your photography business, whether it's in your weight loss journey, or whether it's just, for relationships. We're going to just talk about how to shift your mind so that you can actually have what you want. And I'm really, really excited about this. So you ready to go in?
Yeah, let's go.
Woohoo! All right. So the first tip that we have, tip number 1, is just being aware of who you spend time with. So there is a statistic out there, and I'm not really sure where I heard this from, but I've heard it in a couple of places, where you are the sum total of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. And your time is your most valuable asset. There we go. Your time's your most valuable asset. And you got to be, you have to be, very cautious with who you spend your time with, and making sure that these are people that are going to lift you higher and not bring you down. How many of us have actually had friends who, like, every time they call or send a text message, we are hesitant to answer because it's just like, oh, you know what? She's just going to start complaining about someone or something, and you just don't want to hear it because it brings you down. I've had a couple of people like that in my life, and I've had to have this process of removing myself slowly from that. Not that I'm not friends with them, not that I don't care about them, but just recognizing that, who you spend your time around, and, what they say impacts you and your level of success. So Jeanette, would you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of times there's guilt associated with that, when you feel like you have to start kind of like cutting back on how much time you spend with those people, because I've definitely been there too. I mean, and some of them are people that I was really good friends with, but those are what I call like energy vampires. They just drain you to where, like, you're putting all your energy into this other person, and it's taking, you might have something really exciting going on in your life, but it just takes you from that like elevated area to this just like down area. And you'll realize that when you hang out with those people, you'll start to see the negativity in your life, because it's so easy as humans to want to relate to that person and share what's on the same level as that person. So if they're sharing all negative, you're going to want to be at that same place, and you're going to share all negative, which is going to get you in that headspace of being totally negative. There's no guilt or there's no reason to be guilty for separating yourself from people that don't make you feel your best. You should never feel bad about doing what helps you feel your best. And like, if you're still friends with those people, just make sure that you're doing something that day before you see that person to put you in a good mood, because there are people that we can't just like cut out of our lives that are like that. Limit your time with that person. Don't feel bad having to get off the phone with them. Have a plan already in place to get off the phone with them, whatever that looks like. Like, it's not a bad thing. And I think so many people think about it as a bad thing. And the other thing too, is I think that when it comes to surrounding yourself with people who, you want to be like, I even think people underestimate themselves there, and they'll be like, oh, I found my people. These are the people I want to be like. But I challenge you to find the people that you truly want to be like, not people who are like you now, and put yourself into that group of friends. Find how you can be in the group of people that you want to be like, and not just people who are like you.
Right.
And you'll be able to level up yourself to be in that place as well. And so often I see people who are like hanging out with people who are in that because I do the fitness and stuff. So who, they're like, well, my friends are all dieting. Well, yeah, they're in the yo-yo diet mode. So you're going to stay in that yo-yo diet mode. If you want to be like that, you need to hang out with people who are already where you want to be.
Yeah, that's very true. And along those same lines, I think it's just a matter of how you spend your time, whether, obviously be aware of how you're spending your time with other people, but then also being aware of how you just spend your time when nobody else is around. Are you somebody who binge watches TV? I really struggle with that one, especially late at night when the kids have gone to bed. Like, this is something that I have to consciously work out, because I can watch, a couple episodes of How I Met Your Mother, and before I know it, it's 2:00 in the morning, and I've just wasted hours, and then I'm in this funk for the next day, and that definitely affects my mindset. Maybe it's not binge watching TV for you. Maybe it's scrolling through Facebook, or maybe it's just doing any sort of social media, or just being involved in gossipy conversations, or something that's not going to take you to where you want to be. So this first tip is really just to be aware of how you spend your time, who you spend it with, and really just, to surround yourself with things that will propel you forward, not keep you stuck in an area that you don't want to be in. So awesome. So we can move on to tip number 2, which kind of leads nicely into this, is basically when you're stopping, when you start to recognize the things that you're doing or the people you're around that's actually not pushing you forward, you want to stop doing it. So it might feel like a little bit of a void. You're like, okay, what do I do with my time or energy now? And one of the things that I've started implementing myself is just gratitude. Gratitude is one of the best things that you can do to, just be happier all around, or, just to feel more at peace. And I've, been practicing like a gratitude journal every day for, quite a while now. And I had a friend and I were talking about this the other day where she was sharing one of the ways that she practices gratitude. And I love this idea so much that I'm going to start doing it. But basically, she was saying how every morning she wakes up and she makes a list first thing in the morning about 10 things that she's grateful for that will happen that day. So she's like putting this into the future. Like these things haven't happened yet, but she's putting it out there that she's going to be grateful when, she gets a special surprise in the mail, or she gets a new client, or whatever it might be, or maybe her husband surprises her with flowers. These are things that maybe not have happened yet, but she's putting it out there. She's determined to have a grateful mind from the start of the day. And then at the end of the day, she'll go ahead and do a list of 10 items again, where she's writing out 10 things that she's grateful for that actually happened that day. So she's starting and ending her day. She's doing bookends of gratefulness. And this right here can totally shift everything. It can shift a lack mentality to an abundant mentality. And that's key if you're trying to do anything. If you're trying to grow your business, which is hard, or if you're trying to lose weight, which is hard, this can really get you out of that stuck mindset and really move you forward. Jeanette, would you mind sharing some of the ways you use gratefulness?
Yeah, for sure. So this is something that I share a lot with, like in my business, is I have struggled with anxiety for a long time. And something that I've started to do is interrupt that. And so like whenever I start to get stressed, like, running your own business can be really stressful, and there are up times and down times. And, when you're working with people, you will have people who aren't happy, or who aren't necessarily like you're not necessarily able to help in the way that you want to help them. And so, it can be really stressful, and you can start to take that on. And so in those moments, like I like to pause and think about what I'm thankful for and grateful for in those moments. Let's say, for example, like you started your own business, and so you took that risk and money's been really tight. Well, a good thing in that moment to do is to be grateful and say, you know what, I'm really grateful that I'm in a place where I can start my own business. Like maybe it's tight and I can't have everything I want right now, but I'm going to. And I feel really grateful that I don't have to go to a 9-to-5 job that I'm not happy with, and I don't have to do this. And so just like finding the positives and saying them out loud to yourself, or just even saying them in your head when you're in that moment of stress and overwhelm, and you start to kind of spiral into like all of the stressful stuff. So I find doing that at night, because like especially Sunday nights, my mind starts to kind of go into like all the stuff that I need to think about. And so in those moments, that's when I will pull out the gratitudes in my head, and it definitely helps me like calm and like go to sleep. And we were talking about business in general, but I think it's so important to be grateful for the things in your life that are making you feel healthy all the time, because if you want to do well in general, you need to be paying attention to your health, because nothing will hold you back more than if you're always getting sick, if you're always feeling crap. Like, I think that that's huge. So.
Yeah, definitely. And when we say health, I mean, I'm sure you will agree with this. This is health in all areas of your life. Health with what you eat, health with, your mindset, which is what we're talking about today, healthy relationships, all of that plays in together for success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. You want to go into the last tip?
Yeah. So, and actually this is something I learned not super long ago that I think has been a really great tip for me is, we were kind of talking about things that we tell ourselves that we're grateful for, but we can't deny the fact that there are still those moments that creep in where you start to tell yourself those same lies that you've heard your entire life. Like if you think about it as an adult, you've been telling yourself negative things for a really long time. We get messages from media of negative things that we're telling ourselves, and it's constant, right? But they're mostly all lies. You have to start to pay attention to those lies that you're telling yourself. Like, I can never be successful because there are so many people already doing what I'm doing. Like Heather was talking about with the lack mindset versus the abundant mindset, or I can never do this because I always screw up. I'll never be able to reach my goals because X, Y, Z. So you start to tell yourself those things. So what I think is really helpful is if you take your phone or any kind of device and you put it on record and record yourself saying some of these things that you're telling yourself in your head all the time. Like maybe you have a long commute, so you're sitting in the car and you're thinking about your day. Speak it out loud to yourself and record it. Play it back to yourself and think if that's the way that you would talk to your best friend or somebody that you love or care about. Would you say these things to them about how they treated themselves or how they acted in their day? And my answer is that you probably wouldn't, because we're super hard on ourselves. And so if you take the time, like even if it's just like once a week or once a month or something, to listen to the way that you're speaking to yourself when you're not thinking about it, I think that's huge in realizing what steps you need to take and what areas you need to work in.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
I have never done that. Jeanette actually just shared that tip with me, as we were preparing for this, and she's done it a couple of times. And I would feel a little weird, like recording recording myself, and then it's just to think. I mean, like I know the thoughts that I have. Like I screwed up really, like awfully yesterday, the day before, and I was, just thinking, oh, here I did it again. I screwed up, and like, I'm really not good enough. I can't expect anything better, and like I still get stuck in that, and I get stuck in that negative mindset cycle. And when you I guess when you take that leap and you start to record what you're saying, it's going to really make you aware of how you're talking to yourself. And like I would never talk to one of my boys that way, so why is it okay for me to talk to me that way?
Right.
Is really the point.
And when it's in your head, you don't hear it the same as when it's like out loud and you're like, ooh, yeah, that is not cool.
And I think, what boils down to it is like words have power. The words that you speak, but then also the thoughts that you think, even if you don't say them out loud, they are still affecting your every move, your every decision, and where you go in life. And so if you're able to record that and then, take note and take and change anything that you need to change that you're not speaking truthfully or in love to yourself, then you can do that and you can get on this path of where you can, just become aware of what you're doing and what you're saying, and then change it where it needs to be so that you can have that success, however you define it, in the long term.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. Anything else you want to add? Because those are our 3 tips right there. We talked about being aware of how to spend your time, whether it's with people who drag you down or with things that don't really, like things like Facebook or TV, binge watching, things that don't move you forward. So just being aware of that. And then once you do become aware of that, start, replacing those activities with things that will take you forward. Start finding a friend group or an accountability partner, somebody who will keep pushing you forward in your goals and your growth. Tip number 2 was just to practice gratitude. You can practice that any way you want to. I recently started, like this morning, writing down 10 things that I'm grateful for that will happen that day. And I'm trying to put it in the future tense to kind of like, to expect the good things to happen and to come my way. And then also on the flip side, just writing down at the end of the day, 10 things that I'm grateful for that actually happened that day. And then the last tip that Jeanette shared was just basically catching the lies that we say to ourselves. And a great way to do that is to record yourself on your phone and play that back and become aware of, what you're actually saying to yourself, and then make any necessary adjustments. And I think, Jeanette and I were talking about this before, where this is not an immediate fix, where this kind of takes time. Like you can't just, I think Jeanette said when we were talking, she's like, you can't just wake up one morning and say affirmations and then by the end of the day think that everything's okay. This definitely takes time. If you're like me or her, or basically any human being, you've probably had these negative thoughts for, a couple of years or maybe even a few decades. So it takes time to break that cycle. So then just remember to be patient with yourself. It's not about perfection. It's really just about the journey and taking one step forward every single day. So.
Yeah. And with that, like, I just think that, if you start to look at your mindset, like this sounds probably bizarre, but like as a checklist and just doing those things as a checklist from the beginning and just committing to like for 30 days, I'm going to do the affirmations. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do that. Even if you don't feel like it, like you're like, I really don't feel like it, but I'm going to do it as a checklist. It'll start to become that habit.
Right.
Because the beginning is the most difficult. So,
right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed these tips. If you are a photographer who's looking for more business coaching, I invite you to join my group of aspiring photographers. You can just search that in the Facebook feature. We do a lot of extra help and tips in there, and it's a great place where you can get support and answers to your questions. So just go ahead and search for the Aspiring Photographer. If you're looking for more one-on-one coaching, send me a private message and we can talk about that. And Jeanette, if you are somebody who is really interested in creating a healthy relationship with food, learning more about nutrition, or on your weight loss journey, definitely reach out to Jeanette because she's amazing at that. In the last 2.5 years that I've known her, how much weight have you lost?
90 pounds.
Yeah. 90 pounds. And it's awesome. And she is one of the most honest and real people I know. Like I don't even think I've shared this with you, but every time I see one of your success posts, or even not even the success really, but like the post where you're just sharing the struggles with this, like it just like hits me in my heart. And I'm like, man, this girl is just awesome and just real. So she's definitely the person to contact, and she can help you with your goals on your, food and weight loss journey as well. So.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, you can follow me on Facebook. I just started a YouTube channel or Instagram. So like any of those places you can follow me and you can reach out to me at it's JeanetteHolian.coaching@gmail.com. So I offer 8-week programs around mindset and nutrition to help you. Like my real thing is like making it a lifestyle change and not fitting things into boxes or stuff like that. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions or if you're watching the replay, thank you so much for watching it. Leave those comments below and both Jeanette and I will, get back to you and answer any of those questions. But we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Hey, thanks. Bye.